And we are on, eventually. Welcome to the St. Louis Cardinals UK podcast with Big Dave, my mate Mark, and my mate Sydney. Um, hi everyone. Hope everyone's having a good Friday. Um, I think we need to talk Cardinals. So as we go to recording tonight, I'm looking at the notes. We're 14 wins, 17 losses. We go into, I think, a three-game series against the White Sox, who are on shocking form. I think they've won about 5, 6 games. So I'll pass over to you guys. So how do you think the season's going so far? In particular with the team in general, but then we can talk about individual players later on. So Mark, over to you, mate. So, this time last year, I'm not quite sure where we were, but do you think 14 and 17 is acceptable at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, a losing record at this stage of the season is never acceptable. It's a weird season so far, isn't it? It feels kind of the same but different. It's just really weird. Everything we thought was going to happen at the beginning of the year, we thought the pitching was going to be the dodgy aspect of the team. The pitching's actually been pretty good. We thought the offense was going to bounce back this year. It hasn't, and it's just a continuation of where we were last year. We're winning games that we probably would have lost last year, but we're still also losing a lot of games as well. And it's just a strange start to the season. Just can't get anything going at all. It's just very odd.
Yeah, Sydney?
Yeah, same thoughts here. It feels the same, but it also doesn't. I do think I feel more positive this season. Last year, I think it just immediately it felt bad from the start. Here, I've seen a lot of very good things happen that I don't think I saw at the beginning of the season last year. And I think for our guys right now, like Mark said, the pitching has been much better than I think any of us anticipated. And I think that is key. We still have a lot of people injured who I think can be really big bats for the actual offense. Obviously, we want Goldie and Arenado to do better. We can talk about them later. But I do think we are missing some key pieces in terms of the offense. So if the pitching can keep up the way it is, I think we'll be able to bounce back once people are healthy.
No, that's a fair point. I think last year the bullpen really struggled, and the depth of squad that we had at the time, there was no one to sort of like get us out of the like of a sticky situation really. But the pitching this year, and I know we're not talking about personal players at the moment. Sonny Gray, there's something about that boy. I really like him, and actually I think Mark's probably got more stats than me, but I'm assuming Mark that he's outshone everybody in the bullpen at the moment.
Yeah, and we've actually got a genuine number one of at the moment, which we didn't really have last season. He's ERA of 1.16 at the moment. He's sort of unhittable in lots of games we played so far this year. He is a genuine number one pitcher. And the whole top end of the rotation is doing really well. I mean, Lynn and Gibson have been far better than anybody expected them to be. I think everybody thought they were going to be just sort of bit part additions, the old stages, the jokes about them at the beginning of the season. But they've done way, way better than anybody thought. Unfortunately, on to sort of offset that, Michaelis has had another shaky start to the year, and Matt is injured again. So we've got the top three of the rotation looking strong, and sort of holding everything together. But then the back end of the rotation still needs strengthening, and whether we've got enough depth within that rotation still to hold up. But in terms of the bullpen, like you said, they've been the stars of the season so far, and they generally, especially Romero, Housley, Kittredge, have been superb. And there's games that we've won this year that have been won by them holding on to slender leads. We haven't been knocking in the runs, so we've needed them to hold up a 3-2 or a 4-3, whatever win, to get some important wins. So yeah, the pitching is
Yeah,
definitely been massive.
I agree, and I think Helsley at the end, he's coming in and he's throwing rockets at the moment, and he's just looking such a good finisher for us at the end. There's something about that boy as well. I really like him as well.
Yeah, Sydney, you sort of surprised with our rotation so far, how well it's holding up?
Yeah, so I knew about Lance Lynn, obviously just being a Cardinals fan for years. I didn't know a lot about Gibson coming in, and just based on, various baseball accounts I followed, they did not seem very high on him at all. And I think he's done really well. He's done exactly what they want in terms of eating innings. And then I read an article, I think earlier today, that his ERA is like 3 something, which,
Yeah,
compared to
2.79, yeah.
Yeah, compared to last year, hey, that's pretty good for our team.
Yeah.
So I've been really pleased with him. I think Lynn has looked better than I expected him to, and obviously Gray, like, don't even need to discuss because he's just been absolutely phenomenal. I echo everything you said about the bullpen. My dad and mom are Rays fans down in Florida, and as soon as we got Kittredge, my dad is like, "Oh, you got a good one." He had nothing but good things to say about him, and then I loved JoJo last year, so I'm really happy to see him kind of come into his own already this season. People are really starting to notice him, and obviously Helsley, everybody knows. I think he just won like reliever of the month or something like that. He's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
so
mean, yeah.
yes, I was gonna say to you, because obviously, me and Mark, we get quite a lot of information regarding the Cardinals on, online. But what are the local news agencies saying, in particular about the Cardinals at the moment? Because I think for the first time, we're not bottom of the league, are we? I think we're above the Pirates now, I
Risen
think.
to the heights of fourth, haven't we? I think in
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Central.
But the only way is up, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
Hopefully so.
yeah, so I'd be interested to know what the American media or the local St. Louis media are saying about the Cardinals at the moment, Sydney.
Yeah, I think the accounts that I follow and know, I think a lot of the Cardinals accounts are pretty pessimistic. Again, just with the way this team has always been, I know we have a lot of gripes with the front office, but if you look at the front office tenure for the entirety of the time they've been there, I think Mo's been there for 15, 16, something like that, a long time. He's been winning every season until very recently. So in the long term, his track record is fantastic, but now it's finally starting to catch up that things are not the way that they should be. So I think Cardinals fans as a whole are just not used to not being fantastic, or at least not making the playoffs. So I do think part of it is that it seems worse than it is just because the fan base is not accustomed to this. At the same time, I do think I've seen a lot of positives that people are taking, especially in comparison to last year. Some of the more neutral, like, media groups I follow have been really high on our pitching. They've been really high on the young players who have been performing well, like Mason Wynn. Obviously, like, Newt is still kind of coming back, so we can't really count him out. But even for me, I know a lot of people don't like Siani because they think he's never getting on base. But to me, someone who is able to lay down a bunt when we need them to every time is a good thing to have. I'm not sure if Victor Scott could have done the same. I like Victor. I think he's great. I love his speed, but I just think Siani is a little bit better on that side of things. And he does seem to be getting some recognition on that front as well. So I don't know. It seems like pretty mixed, but I do think in general things are more positive this year than they were last year on the media side.
No, that's good. And we've opened this podcast on a positive. Well, apart from me spilling my daughter spoiling my wine, but that's another story. Let's talk offense. What the hell is going on with these guys? Mark, come on. Let's hear from you. I'm sure you got stats you're going to throw at me in Sydney.
Come on, let's do some stats. So in terms of rankings, offensive rankings for the Cardinals this season, in runs were 28th, in hits were 26th, 30th and bottom in home runs, 27th in RBIs, 29th in stolen bases, 26th in average, 25th in on-base percentage, 26th with runners in scoring position, and 26th with bases loaded. We're at the bottom of the barrel in all of those metrics, and it really shows in games, that we should be winning and we just can't get the runs across. We've wasted so many good starts already from pitchers. Michaelis is renowned for not getting support from the offense throughout last season, and that's carried on again this year. Even some of the Sonny Gray starts, we've only just scraped a win. The offense, for whatever reason, it's just a mystery. When you look at the lineup, it's still stacked. The names you've got there, Arnaldo Goldschmidt, they should be raking, and they're not. And they're just carrying on from the form they were last year. I mean, Arnaldo looked completely lost beginning of the season. He has actually in hits, he's actually got the most hits on the entire team this year. So on that side, he's getting on base, but he seems to just be well, he's got 1 home run for the season. There was a stat yesterday, 1 homer in 200 and something at bats this season so far. Where the pitchers are just pitching inside because he's obviously a pull hitter. Whether they're just sort of not giving him the pitches to hit. But you know, the big guns are not. They're just not sort of delivering at the moment, and that then I think filters through the rest of the team. And you know, when our big players aren't sort of performing, it's down to the rest of the squad, the less experienced players, to try and step up. And you know, they're not quite ready for that maybe yet.
You know, I didn't realise the stats were that bad, to be honest with you. I feel like getting a bloody armband and wearing it around the house. It's
We're
bloody
all in
awful.
black tonight, you'll notice. Yeah.
Yeah, we are. Yeah. Sydney, can you add any more doom and gloom to this post?
I mean, I'm not sure it can get much worse. I mean, it can get worse technically, but no. I will say, in terms of Arenado, obviously, I think especially early in the season, he had some at bats where I was just like, this does not look like the Nolan Arenado we know. But at the same time, I think he was getting on base more than people realized. And yes, they were more singles than, you know, he wasn't hitting home runs and doubles, but he was still getting on base. So there was that piece. I did think some people kind of overreacted on that front. Like, hey, I'd rather see him still getting on base than, you know, maybe he hits a home run every few games, but never gets on base otherwise. I will also say, one thing that I personally like seeing with baseball teams, and we've done it a few times this year, and I wish we would do it more, when the offense is not hitting, when we cannot get runners to advance, we need to change something. We can't just keep sending people up there, striking out, taking wild swings, but do something. Like, put the ball in play. I know some people hate bunting and they think it's ridiculous, but as we've already seen, we have enough people on this team who are fast enough that puts pressure on defense. I mean, we won a game, you know, a few weeks ago because of bunting and advancing runners and small ball. We had the squeeze the other, gosh, was that against the White Sox? I don't even remember. But the win squeeze when he ran home. Things like that, you know, if we can't score otherwise, at least try something different. And some teams are really successful with that. I think the Guardians, maybe 2 years ago, they had like the lowest home run total in the league, if I'm remembering right. But they had so many fast players who could do small ball. So I just think we can't sit here and keep complaining about not having big hitters and not changing anything. Like, do something different. like we can't just keep expecting the same results when we're doing the exact same thing. We need to change something. And I think we have the players who are capable of doing that.
You know what? You put that so well. I think that's a really good point. And sometimes you got to do something different. And I think we're a little bit too robotic. And you know, it's a cycle. And within a few minutes, we're back out on the field again, where all our batsmen are sitting down. And like I say, I think we should really mix it up. Oh well, okay, that was a bit doom and gloomy, but we'll try and move on. Now we have had some positives with some certain players. Mark done a wonderful poll the other day, and I didn't actually see the final results, Mark, on sort of
I
like,
think it was Helsley.
Best player of April, wasn't it?
Best player of April. I sort of put 4 sort of players up that I felt had sort of shone really. There was Helsley, Gray, Contreras, and Mason Wynn. I think most of my positive posts this season have been Mason Wynn related.
Yeah. You've got to love him.
I am becoming a little bit of a fanboy. I've got to say, of Mason Wynn. He is becoming fast my sort of favourite player. I think whatever jersey I buy next is going to have a 0 in the back, 100%. He's been a real bright spot this year so far. You know, he didn't really take off the end of last season. He sort of came into the team towards the end of the year. Wasn't really hitting. You know, people are wondering whether he was the real deal or not. But he's sort of started the season really positively, getting on base. He isn't a power hitter, but as Sydney said, he's at least getting on base. He's hitting singles and doubles. He's getting on there. You know, driving in runs when he needs to. You know, he's had a really positive start, and obviously defensively, he's on another level. You know, his arm is absolutely.
I was going to say that he's not the biggest chap, is he? But by God, he's
got
he
can throw the ball at unbelievable speed, and he sort of saved us quite a few runs this year just with, you know, running out. There's one at home plate, wasn't there, last week where you know, and there was one the other night where he sort of fumbled it and still managed to get it to first base just by the speed of his arm and things. So yeah, definitely a positive. I think everybody was expecting maybe that Jordan Walker was going to be the rookie that was going to come through for the Cardinals, but maybe Mason Wynn's been overlooked a little bit, and he's going to be the one that come through. That's the end of my
Yeah.
fanboy, So
Yeah, no, I'm glad you've had a bromance with Win this year.
absolutely,
I feel like Tommy Evans he's dumped me this year, and I can't move on to
he'll
another
be
player.
back.
So
He'll be back.
if Tommy's well, I hope Tommy is listening, and I look forward to him coming back. Sydney, who's the players that have stood out for you? Don't say
Yes,
Mason
I'll
Wynn.
say I did not vote for Wynn. I'll tell you who I voted for in a second. But speaking of Wynn and Tommy, I am very excited for when Tommy comes back, because Tommy obviously is amazing wherever he plays on defense, but I love Tommy in the outfield. So the fact that Mason Wynn has done as well as he has makes me feel better about Tommy not having to fill those shortstop shoes. Mason Wynn could have come up and really struggled with it being his first like real big league season, but he's been absolutely fantastic. And I don't think Tommy is going to be needed to fill the shortstop hole. I love him in the outfield, so I'm really excited for him to be able to fill in the outfield. I will say for my favorite player who I think has done the best, I picked Contreras. I think he's been, I don't even remember what his streak of like on base was. I think it was extending from last season even, but I just feel like every time I look up, he was hitting, he was on base. He's hit, I don't know, is he leading in home runs for us? I'm assuming he is.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Yeah. I just feel like he has constantly been on base. He's been walking a ton. I just feel like he's been putting the ball in play and has looked really good. Even through his injury early in the season, I know that's still lingering a little bit. I thought he's looked great at the plate still. Obviously still doing a lot of damage, but then also on defense, you can tell, and I heard them talking about it when we did the Brewers series. He and his brother really worked together this offseason. You can tell he looks so much better. I know he's not the best in terms of like framing and blocking, but I can already see a difference in how he looks this season. And I'm just really excited to see him continue. I know catchers, like, we never know what the injuries, so many freak things can happen to them. Like we saw Herrera get hit the other day in the head. I'm hoping that he stays really healthy. The hand issue is not an issue. And if he keeps it up like this, like, he might be an all-star, him and his brother.
Yeah.
I think for me with Wilson this year, he's got more of an air of confidence about him. He's got a bit of swagger about him, and I think he realises now he possibly is the man. And the team seem to be sort of like gelling around. Oh, I don't know. In my opinion, they're gelling around him. But when he comes out on the
definitely grown
field, he
into
just
that
has something
leadership
about
role.
him. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
he's
whereas
definitely grown
before,
into that leadership
obviously,
role.
yeah, obviously before, last season he was sort of like filling in yardie shoes and stuff like that, and that's a big shoe to fill. But I think he's slowly getting there, and I think the fans love him as well.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
know.
definitely. I think, with the middle of last season when he was the whole sort of scapegoat for the rotation or whatever,
Yeah,
middle of the
massively.
year, and I think he really recovered that for the rest of the season. But like sort of Sydney said, he's gone off and worked hard during the off season,
And
and
he
he's
has, and
not
that
just in the
says
way
a
he's
lot about the
playing, but
man.
in
To
his
be fair,
leadership as well. I think. Yeah.
yeah, it
100%.
says a lot about the man. To be fair, he's he could have really sulked or got upset about what happened last year, but he's turned it all around. It's absolutely fabulous. I think that's a good idea. I think maybe we should try and do that once a month, Mark. Do the
Player of the month.
player of the
Yeah.
month. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
It
that's a
only
good
got
idea.
30 votes or something this time, so it wasn't really a sort of a huge reflection of the Cardinals Cardinals fan base. But it's a start, and maybe we'll give more votes next time. And but it's
Yeah, to be fair, when I clicked Wilson, sorry, I clicked Sonny Gray, but after I clicked it, I thought, oh, should I have gone for Wilson? I was really on. It's a good debatable thing, really, and I
I
quite
just clicked
like
Mason Wynn on about 6 different accounts just to make sure you got plenty.
that. Right, guys, is there anything that you want to add to this before I sort of like go a little bit off topic? And
I was just going to ask about Jordan Walker. I don't know what your feelings are. Sydney
oh,
is
yeah.
sent down again. Similar sort of reasons to last year, by the sound of it. They're not happy with his elevation of the ball and that kind of thing. Has he been given a fair shot? Is it right to send him down? Should he be left there in the bigs to sort of thrash it out and see how he goes? But
I do think it was right to send him down, or at the very least to bench him. With the way Alec Burleson has been playing, I think he was very easy to fill into that. It wasn't like we had everybody in the outfield struggling equally, Burleson proved over and over again, like he's great in clutch situations. He was an easy spot to fill for Walker. However, it's hard, especially for someone like Walker, who was up for a good portion of last season, who has these expectations on him. Mason Wynn comes up and is doing so well. Obviously, Victor Scott, this is his first time, so we can't really compare him. I'm sure that was a little bit demoralizing for Jordan. But hopefully it kind of makes him reevaluate things down in the minors, and he's able to just like light it up down there and come back quickly. I also, again, not knowing how long Tommy's going to be out, we might need him sooner rather than later, depending. I know Dylan Carlson's looking pretty good right now in his rehab stint, but who knows what's going to happen. I would much rather see him, doing really well in the minors and making it difficult for the team to decide when he comes back versus him really struggling and them just leaving him down there. I'd like to see him back sooner rather than later. But at the same time, I do think he needs to kind of readjust and kind of like he did last season, just take that time.
Yeah, I think for me, Walker, he's still a young lad, isn't he? He's still quite young.
21, isn't he?
But for me, he was doing what he was doing last year, where I think the pitchers were throwing balls quite low to him. He's tall, isn't he? And he was swinging when the ball was down by his ankles, and he was doing that last year. And I was watching the game, I think a couple of weeks ago, and I think, come on, Jordan, you know what's coming. Just let the ball go. But he kept swinging at it, and it was really frustrating. And I hope that he gets his confidence back, he gets his mojo back, gets his swing back, gets his swagger back, and then he's back with us soon. Because I think the more high quality players we've got in the squad gives Ollie Marmol more of a problem. But at the end of the day, it's worth picking the best players. That's a good problem to have.
He needs to do whatever Nolan Gorman did at the very start of the season when he was hitting really well. He needs to do that. Whatever adjustments Gorman made, I think that's what Walker needs. Obviously, Gorman really fell off quickly. And then he came back, and I'm just like, I don't get it with him. I don't fully understand. But whatever that reevaluation was in the offseason, and I know Gorman did a lot of stuff. I think if Jordan is able to kind of pull that together like he did last year, but hopefully just a little bit quicker pace, that's exactly what he needs. He just needs to readjust a little bit.
No, that's fair enough. No, there's some really good points, actually. And I think, you know what? I think if you'd have said to me at the beginning of the season where we are now, I think I would take that because there's always room for improvement. You don't want to come out all guns blazing. Everyone thought the Yankees and the Dodgers were going to go and kick some arse this year, and they did to start off with, but things are starting to balance themselves out over the season. I think what we can do is probably move on to some of the teams that we think are doing quite well. I've made a list. I think the Braves, the Phillies, the Dodgers, the Padres, and in the Orioles, Yankees, Red Sox, they're all doing okay at the moment. So, Sydney, you probably watch a bit more baseball than me and Mark. What's the vibe at the moment? Who's the team that are really sort of like catching the eye?
So for me right now, honestly, the Brewers, I think, have been doing really well. Obviously,
Did you notice I never said their name?
I know. Honestly, I like them. They're better than the Cubs. I really do think, well, even watching them play, their lineup is fantastic. I also really like a lot of their players. I love Willie Adames. I love Contreras, obviously, but they have such great, not even necessarily home run hitters, because they do have that, but they just have great hitters. Like they have people who, what was Contreras's runner in scoring position batting average, like 500 when we played against them? It was insane. They just have guys who put the ball in play and hit, and they do really well with that. So they're definitely the team I've been keeping an eye on. Just because I'm out here now with the Diamondbacks. They're kind of in the same boat as the Cardinals in terms of record, but they're playing the Padres this weekend, and I'm going tomorrow. So I'm really interested to see how they look. I thought during spring training, the Padres didn't look that great. But I know they seem to be doing better. And then I'd also say, I think the Orioles have just like last year, they have a really strong team. Adding Corbin Burns is just phenomenal for them. I mean, he's been amazing so far this season. I'm excited for that team. I think they're fun, they're young, they're exciting to watch. And obviously their prospects are fantastic. Their AAA team is in my hometown in Virginia. So we used to watch them when I was younger and they were terrible. So to see them be like the top of the minors is pretty exciting. And if someone gets hurt, they have someone to fill in, and not every team can say that. So I'm definitely keeping my eye on the Orioles.
Yeah, I think you're not the only one actually. Mark, has anyone caught your eye?
The Royals for me.
Yeah,
They've
actually,
proved
yeah.
so much. It's unbelievable. I mean, I just like to say now that in the backflips and those predictions thing for the season, I did tip the Royals as being the most improved team this year. So I'll just put that in there now as well. But they have lived up to all the. I think there was a lot of hype before the season that they were going to be better. I don't think anybody expected they'd be quite as good as they've been so far this year. Whether that's sustainable or not, I don't know. But in Bobby Witt Jr., they've got one of the most exciting talents in the whole of the MLB, I think, at the moment. And he's going to be a star for many years to come. And they seem to have put together a really competitive team at the moment. And I really hope they do well.
Yeah, I do, and Mark knows this, but Sydney won't. This is a soccer-related one. So my local team, Reading, their nickname is the Royals, and they play in a blue as well, blue and white hoops. And I must admit, they sort of caught my eye a little bit when I got into MLB because they were a bit unpredictable. They'd have 5-6 game losing streak, then they'd win a couple, and they were a nice team to watch. I think, guys, this has been a really good episode. Actually, it's been a real positive, negative, positive. I think we call it a shit sandwich over here, Mark, don't we?
That's one way to say it, yeah.
Yeah. Have you heard that expression, Sydney?
I have, yeah.
So, we've tried to build it up, but at the moment, I think we're doing okay. We can do better, and I think when we go to recording, maybe in 3 or 4 weeks' time, hopefully, we can really improve. Before we go, guys, because I'm running out of time. Because of the first 5 minutes went horribly wrong for us, well, me personally. Anything you want to add before we go?
Go ahead,
That's a
Mark.
no.
Well, for me personally, I'm just seeing the London series come closer and closer and closer is really exciting. Obviously, you and I both go into the Saturday game.
Yes.
Two really good teams that are doing pretty well this season. The Mets have been a bit hit and miss, but the Phillies have had a really good start to the season. They're going to bring two really strong fan bases across with them as well. Two well supported teams over in the UK as well. I think it's going to be a really good occasion, and looking forward to meeting up with you again and some other Cardinals fans and getting up to London and watching some live baseball. So just over a month away now. So looking forward to that coming.
If I win the lottery, Sydney, I'll fly you over so you can come and join us. Yeah, that'd be great.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no worries, mate. But if you win the lottery, you've got to fly me and Mark over, so it works both ways.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, this has been wonderful. This is Big Dave representing the UK Cardinals with Mark and Sydney. Speak soon, guys. Thank you. Oh, bollocks.
Good place to put it.
Oh, sorry about that. My bottle of wine's gone over now. Oh, no.
Right. We're like a well-oiled machine here, Sydney.
Can I come back in 10 minutes? Oh, I'll be back in 10 minutes.
Are you kidding?
No, she's not done with my bottle. Look. Oh, you can't see it. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, she's half of it's gone.
Oh, no.